Hey, good morning, folks. Hopefully you guys can see me okay. Um, See how this goes. My computer's experiencing a little bit of issues this morning, so hopefully it doesn't slow us down too much. But welcome. Thanks for joining me. Trying out a new platform on YouTube today, so bear with me as I kind of get used to that and see what's going on and get that figured out. But hopefully everyone can hear me. Let's see here. YouTube's not super happy. But we'll just kind of go with it. So if I'm not coming through as far as sound, or if there's technical issues or something going on, let me know. I'm watching the chat. Main reason I moved to this platform is because um, Facebook's got issues with delays, and I'm trying to find something a little bit better than that. Um, but we'll see how it goes with YouTube. It's kind of more of a resource hog, and it doesn't seem to like my computer as well. So anyway, um, let's go ahead and get started with a couple of things, and I'll just jump right into it. So, like I said, if there's technical things, definitely point them out to me, and hopefully everyone can hear me. Okay. So one thing we're going to look at, and as you know, if you followed me or if you've heard some of the other meteorologists around town, we've got an active week next week as far as weather is concerned. I've got a couple of big storms posed to move through certain areas. Nothing is Sherlock for Colorado yet. Obviously, we're still working on the details as far as the storm track, but that's something we're keeping an eye on. So um, let me look here. Let's get this set up. Again, bear with me 1 second here. All right, so let's take a look at, I like the euro. We'll take a look at the euro first. These are mediograms, but these are basically based on the European ensemble, which is a host of about 50 different models that run. And we like to take the average of the mean of those, and it gives us kind of a decent picture of what type of snowfall we're looking at next week as far as what the model thinks right now. So keep in mind, um, being this far out, that things can still change, but it's a good thing to start with. It's good to start with, so we'll go with that. Um, Hopefully everyone can hear me. I can't really tell if people can hear me or not. Hopefully. Anyway, so we'll just keep going until I hear that there's issues or whatever. But like I said, this is a new platform, so bear with me. But basically, the first storm you're hearing about is sort of the Monday, Tuesday time frame. And the models still differ a little bit on the exact timing of that. But there's decent agreement amongst the models that we see some sort of impact from that. So again, preliminary on the snowfall totals here. Don't take them as gospel by any means yet, but it's definitely something we're keeping an eye on. And what they're showing is basically, if you look at this, this is Tuesday, 0 Zulus. That's 5 p.m. Monday night. Just the tiniest bit of snow coming through. Not much accumulation there. But we have to think that it will be snowing to some degree on Monday evening. So with that, expect impacts Monday evening. And that's something we'll be watching for. As we get through the night Monday, 12, this is 5 a.m. Yeah, 5 a.m. Tuesday morning, you can see we've had snowfall up to a little over 2 inches, continuing to snow a little bit further through the day on Tuesday. And I know this says Wednesday, but this is Zulu time, so this is basically 5 p.m. Tuesday. So, 5 p.m. Monday, 5 p.m. Tuesday, and you're looking at this model is showing about 3 inches, and that's the ensemble. So that's about 50 of those run together. You can see some purples and pinks with some of those. So some of the actual individual models see higher snowfall totals. This one right here, much, much higher. But a lot of them are kind of around that 3, 4, 5, 6 inch range. So, not a huge storm from what it looks like by any means, but definitely more significant than the last couple we've seen where we've only gotten, a couple inches out of it. So that's something to keep in mind there. Let's move on over to the GFS. GFS, these are ensembles as well. So again, I think there's like 20, 25 models in this that go together. And as you can see, they're forecasting right around the same amount overall. The timing is a little bit different as far as the snow, but it's pretty close. So you've got some decent agreement between these two sets of models as far as the timing shifts a little bit. Snowfall is relatively in the same range, about 3 inches. Again, early on these yet, so I would just say, the biggest thing for these is keep an eye on the forecast, especially going into tomorrow when we're going to get some more models in range. But expect some sort of travel impacts later Monday into Tuesday, and how significant those will be kind of remains to be seen. What we've been seeing this year is a lot of freezing rain, freezing fog, stuff like that, which is something we don't see often around here. We're definitely seeing it this year. But basically, that's the time frame you're gonna have to watch for that. If you get something like that on top of 3 or 4 or 5 inches of snow, as you know, it seems like this year it's not taking a lot of snow for things to really just get pretty awful in terms of traveling and stuff like that. So anyway, so there's that. So what we can look at is we look at some of the upper air stuff, and a lot of people ask, well, how do you know next week is going to be active? How do you know we're going to see storm systems, things like that, especially when models don't get super accurate after about 5 to 7 days out? Well, their accuracy drops 5 to 7 days out with specific details. Mainly, the further away you get, the harder time they have forecasting temperatures and snowfall and little details like that. We need to get a little bit closer in range for those to be valid. But what they can show is kind of your overall patterns that you're going to be looking at. And obviously, we know high pressure, in this case, oranges and reds means, generally better weather, warmer temperatures, calmer things. The blues and the purples and the greens are your low pressure troughs. So what you're seeing here today, and hopefully everyone can still see in here. What you're seeing here today is right over here over Oklahoma. That's the thing that's been sitting over us and gave us the snow and the cold and the unsettled weather, yesterday and the last couple days. So that thing is starting to move off to the east a little bit. And as you can see, Pacific Northwest, there's ridging. So that's good for them. They're going to have some nice weather. That is going to influence our weather just a little bit over this weekend. So this weekend for Colorado and those areas is not looking too bad. If you're traveling on Saturday, Sunday, I don't think you're going to have a whole lot of problems in Colorado, and probably in the Pacific Northwest, Intermountain West. You have some snow showers here and there, but overall looking pretty good. If you go further east, this storm is starting to kind of just putter out, and it's been doing that. So it'll shift off to the east. You may get a little bit of precipitation out of that. But let's step this forward in time, and we'll go into Sunday. So we're looking at there's 5 a.m. There is 11 a.m. And then, so we'll pause it right here at about 11 a.m. Tomorrow. As you can see, the red and oranges, kind of that, I wouldn't call it ridging, but it's kind of northwesterly flow, dominates a lot of the Mountain West. And then you can see out east, man, they got a big storm. I think they call those nor'easters out there, where you get these really rapidly intensifying low pressure systems. They pull in a lot of moisture off the coast. And if it's cold enough, which it looks like it probably will be, you can get some decent snow out there. So if you're traveling Sunday, west good, east not as good. So we can look at more specific details on that too, as far as snowfall here in a little bit, but we'll see how it goes. So yeah, 11 a.m. Sunday, not looking bad out here. We'll look at temperatures and stuff, but as you've seen from a lot of the forecasts, not looking too bad on Sunday. As we go into Monday, look at what is coming down from the north here. This is a relatively stout area of low pressure that develops. It's a strong storm, but it's looking like it stays a little bit too far north of Colorado to really hammer us with snow along the Front Range. But one thing you have to look is the westerly flow going into the mountains here. So the mountains are probably going to be the big winners out of a lot of these storms over the next couple days. So we'll step this a little bit further. This is about 11 p.m. on Monday night. So let's step back just one bit. This is 5 p.m. Monday night, and as you know, with the mediograms and the models and stuff we saw, this is when we just start to see the snow along the Front Range. Euro is a little bit later with that than the GFS, but they're relatively close on their time frame here. So that's that. So this gets developed off to our west here. This is an area of pretty unsettled weather. You're going to have snow, you're going to have cold. Again, the mountains are going to get cranked up with a lot of this. And then on the plains here, we'll start to see snow probably sometime late Monday and going into Tuesday. So as that storm kind of intensifies, you'll notice here we are on Tuesday. This is about 5 a.m. Tuesday. That low pressure system, not super well organized, but it's just covering a large area of the western United States. So that just means these areas are going to see snow, they're going to see cold, especially right along the axis of this trough here going through Colorado. So again, when you look at positioning for us seeing a big snowstorm along the Front Range, this isn't it. This is just, it's a little too far north. The low is disorganized. So, huge storm, not looking likely at this point, but snow is definitely a good possibility for a lot of areas across Colorado. And as we've seen with the freezing rain, the travel impacts are a good chance as well. So that thing just kind of lingers for a little bit. As we move into Wednesday, Thursday, we'll probably see a little bit of clearing. Probably not going to be super warm, but as we're between these two pieces of energy, this one kind of goes off to the east and falls apart. One thing we've been looking at going into next weekend, so after Thanksgiving, is you see a much larger trough, much more large, excuse my grammar, much larger trough developing off to the west here. So notice as that thing gets up cranking over California, and this is going into Wednesday, into Thursday. Now we're at 5 a.m. Thursday. So this far out, it's getting towards the edge of the range on the models here. You have to take things with a little bit of grain of salt as far as position and timing. But one thing you can see here is the models are picking up on a relatively large, strong area of low pressure. So it could form up here, it could form down here, it could form over here. It can move, all sorts of areas. We're not really concerned, too much with the positioning yet, but we are concerned with what is forming here. And this isn't the only model to show this, so it's something we have to watch. Now, just because it's a strong, powerful trough doesn't mean it's going to hit, Front Range of Colorado. A lot of things have to come up just right for us to see a big storm out of it. And the models are not super impressed with how this thing impacts eastern Colorado. Again, mountains could be winners off of this storm as well. So we'll keep stepping it through here a little bit. You notice it just kind of sits. And we're at the edge of the range right here on the European ensembles. So really that's about as far as you can go with what we can see on that. But again, big powerful trough out here. How that thing ejects and moves eastward is going to be all the difference as far as who sees what out of this. Notice we got ridging off to the east. So if you're traveling, Friday out somewhere for Thanksgiving, not going to be bad to the east of us. Probably won't be super bad in Colorado for the most part. The mountains will probably be picking up snow, but the eastern plains are going to be kind of on the edge of things. One thing that we'll see when we see a big high pressure off to our east, big low pressure off to our west, notice how close together these isobar lines do get. And what that generally means or generally shows to us is we have a chance for windy conditions. So we'll be looking at possibility of windy conditions Thursday into Friday when we're between storm systems. All right. So I'll just show you this real quick, and I won't go into too much detail because it's a very similar kind of product from the model, but this is the GFS ensemble. So the last one we looked at is the Euro. This is at the GFS. See as we walk through this if you can notice the similarities. Trough out to our east. This is today. It's taken off out to the east. Also gets pretty strong, but not as strong out on the northeast there. But we'll pick up some snow out of it. Same pattern it's showing. It shows this trough, kind of digging a little bit north of us, bringing some snow into the area. It doesn't sag super far south, doesn't get very well organized, but notice the transition as we get later into the week to that really strong low pressure trough out here. It's a closed low, which basically means it's closed off. Again, powerful, but notice it's got a different position. It's got this off the coast of California, Again, that doesn't really mean much to us right now. But what things like this are showing you are, you have to watch it. So this will go a little bit further, this model. And this is why, even though this is a really powerful storm, we're not yet showing a lot of snow for the Denver area going into next weekend. And the reason is look how powerful this thing is. And as we step to Friday, Saturday, it starts to move east, but look at it, it falls apart. You get another little circulation out here, which we'll have to keep an eye on, because if that forms, depending where that does, that could crank up our snow. But notice the whole thing just falls apart. So big, strong storm system goes to nothing, pretty much dissipates out, and then we get some ridging after that going into the following week, which is the first week of December. So interesting stuff, interesting stuff. Again, if you're just coming in late, European ensembles, 50 models. This is the storm Monday, Tuesday. It likes that 3-inch range, and then the GFS is right around it as well in the 3-inch range. And notice the GFS for that storm system next, Saturday, Sunday, Monday time frame. Not super impressed with the snowfall on that, with the way things are looking right now. So something to keep an eye on. All right, so everyone loves snow. We'll take a look at snowfall here, and I'm really going to focus mainly on. We'll go with the ensembles. We'll go with the Euro. Let's go with the 24-hour snowfall. And let me just get this set up here real quick. I have to go with regions on this one. Bear with me while I get you set up here. Everyone loves to see their snowfall totals. And what I'm actually going to do, scratch that, because I'd like to get a little bit better resolution. Like, I'd like to actually be able to zoom down into Colorado to see the snowfall numbers better. So that's what we're going to look at. So this is European. This is a operational. So this is not an ensemble of 50 models. This is just one closer to the mean. So let's go with Denver. Let's go with winter 24-hour snowfall, 10-to-1 ratio. Okay. So we're going to step through this. This is 24-hour snowfall totals. This is basically a snapshot right now where I'm at of the next 24 hours for snowfall. So what we're going to do is we're going to step out a little bit, and when we start seeing something, I'll stop it and I'll let you know what that is. Still loading. Give me a minute here. There we go. All right, so this is Monday. Again, like I said, the Euro shows the snowfall coming in a little bit later than the GFS on Monday. But as you can see, it kind of starts from the northwest. This is 11 a.m. Monday. And as we step through into the afternoon, let's go to about 5 p.m. Here's 5 p.m. Again, we're starting to see snowfall probably across the area, but we're starting to see accumulation just north of Denver. Not very much going into Monday evening. But again, it's one of those things where if it starts as rain, transitions to snow, you could have ice, and you could have travel impacts. So Monday evening commute will be worth watching. If you're flying out Monday evening, will also be worth watching, just in case they have any icing conditions, but not a huge impact it's looking like right now. Again, this is subject to change as we get closer, but as we go into, this is about 11 p.m. Monday night. Yeah. So as you can see, a lot of areas are getting snow, especially north of Denver. Again, remember when we saw earlier, this storm does have a bit of northern bias to it, so I'd expect the areas north of Denver probably to do a little bit better if the storm stays on its current track. If you're going up to Cheyenne, they're already at 6 inches by Monday night late, and that continues to move through the area. So this is 5 a.m. Tuesday morning. So as you can see, this is a operational model, so it's going to be a little bit higher probably than your ensemble means that we looked at, but a healthy snowstorm, especially for those areas northwest of Denver and the foothills, west of Fort Collins, up toward Cheyenne. Again, don't read in too much to the numbers here yet. This is a low-res model. It's still a little bit out, but what it's showing us is, some areas are going to see some good snow out of this. It's going to have a northern bias. But don't rule out Denver. Don't rule out Douglas County and those areas, Elbert County. So Palmer Divide looks to pick up a little bit off of this. And as we go, continue through the day Tuesday, it continues to snow. So this is 5 p.m. Tuesday. All right. So again, people look at this and start freaking out about the snow totals, this particular model is probably a little bit high right now, as of right now, but it's something we have to watch. So you're looking at 6 inches by 5 p.m. Tuesday, according to this model. It's one model run. Again, don't read too much into the numbers yet. It's a little early for that, but just look at the overall trend, the overall pattern here. Which areas are seeing more snow? Which areas are seeing less snow? The northern bias to the storm, the northeastern plains look to get snow. There's DIA, 6.3 inches. So again, if I had to put a range on the snowfall that I would expect as of right now, I would stick more to those ensemble models. I wouldn't necessarily stick with these. I'd say they're a little bit high. So I'd say 2 to 5 inches right now, if you asked me to give you a range for these guys. If you go further north, I'd be willing to do 4 to 8 with those guys. So again, that's one model. Let's take a look at, I shudder to look at the GFS sometimes because it tends to overdo the snow, but we'll see. And I haven't seen this morning's run on this, so we'll see how it looks. We'll go to Denver. We'll go to winter, 24-hour. We'll look at snowfall. So again, timing is going to be a little bit different on this. There we go. Let's track back to about right here. So this is the GFS operational model. This is 5 p.m. Tuesday. This is 24-hour snowfall totals through 5 p.m. Tuesday. Again, don't get caught up on the numbers. Do not freak out about this. You're seeing some big numbers here, but they don't mean a lot just yet. But notice it's, what you want to look at this far out is look at the areas that are going to probably receive more snowfall. The areas. So again, this has a very clear northern bias, northeastern plains, up into Cheyenne, areas north of Denver. That is your pattern here. That's what you're seeing confidence in the models with, is not necessarily the numbers, because they're different. This one shows a lot more, but it overdoes it. So again, GFS, big grain of salt on these numbers, but look at the pattern. Heavier snow north of Denver, better snow accumulation north of Denver in the northeastern plains. Pretty markedly less as you go further south. So Palmer Divide is going to be right on that dividing line, and then almost nothing as you get south of Palmer Divide. So what does that tell me? To me, it says, okay, not necessarily a big storm, but definitely has potential for an impact. If you're flying out Tuesday evening, potential for impact. As you go further south, you're going to probably be in better shape. So again, don't read too much into the numbers yet. Just look at the overall pattern. All right. Okay. So that's sort of what we're looking at. And I can go more into the storm next weekend, but I don't think it's doing anyone a good service to do that because it's so far away. It's a full 7 days out, and the models are, I shudder to do this, but the models don't handle things, even the bigger details out that far. But what we can see is a pattern here as well, as we go into this week. Okay, Monday, Tuesday storm has potential for, areas right along the Continental Divide, northeast Colorado. Sure, we got that. As we go later through the week, things will quiet down around Denver. Might get a little couple shots of small snow storms here and there, but again, that's getting far out, so I don't put much stock in that. Mountains continue to see snow on and off throughout the week. This is going into Saturday. This is GFS. So remember, the GFS is not super impressed with any of the storms coming through the following weekend. So that's one thing to keep in mind as well. So I know a lot of folks are traveling this week, and a lot of you are tuning in for travel details. So like I said, if I'm gonna sum all of this up, if you're just tuning in, or if you're watching this just to see, okay, well, I'm traveling other places besides Colorado, what can I expect? I think that, let's go back to our ensemble here. The areas you have to watch as far as travel impacts, Colorado, of course, late Monday into Tuesday, possibly into Wednesday, depending on what that storm does. There we go, hide anomaly here. But if we look at winter, 24-hour snowfall, Let's look across the country here. So this will be lower resolution, but it gets the idea across. This is Euro ensemble. This is going into Monday, Tuesday. So, you know, if you're looking at travel impacts on Sunday, really the only thing I can see for you is very, very extreme Pacific Northwest and maybe a little bit off to the northeast. Um, but overall, this weekend across the country looks pretty nice. Not bad at all. Um, this is the storm that moves in from the Mountain West that causes us probably some impacts here in and around Denver, up into Cheyenne, into Wyoming. You've got some snow up in the air in the Washington, Oregon area. I forget the name of these mountains. I don't know if that's the Cascades or not. Don't shoot me on my geography knowledge. But those could cause some impacts for you as well as traveling through Idaho or any of those areas. Looks pretty nice the rest of the country. So one person had asked me about traveling down to Texas. Um, Not looking too bad. The storm that's bringing us snow has a northern bias, so if you get further south, it's not too bad. And of course, if you're traveling this weekend, it looks fine. You should be fine. As we go later into the week, that storm that hits us starts to move out to the east. It kind of falls apart a little bit, but notice what happens in California. Remember, they had that strong low pressure setting up, so I would expect the mountains to do really well in extreme northern California. Maybe getting a little bit of impacts in the Midwest, northern Midwest out here. And as you go into later next week, so this is Thanksgiving Day, 5 a.m. Notice it's showing something a little bit further south of Colorado here, so that's something we'll have to keep an eye on. If you're traveling to the south, you might get some impacts of that. Utah, Nevada, those are all up for grabs there. And then as you move off towards next weekend, again, you're just showing some more general, this is that big low pressure that moves across from California and just falls apart. So what that tells you for Colorado is mountains are going to do pretty well over the next week. A lot of snow on and off. Utah is going to do well, so good for the ski resorts. On and off snowiness to our north with some bigger storms, some smaller storms. Eastern Colorado, we'll have to watch it. This is so far out in this model that it's not showing much right now, but you have to take that with a grain of salt. So long story short, Colorado, unsettled Monday and Tuesday, possibly early Wednesday. That storm has potential to have a decent snowfall with it, but it's not going to be huge by any means with the data we're seeing right now. But especially areas north, you saw some of those areas north into Cheyenne could see a foot of snow. So keep an eye on that. The rest of the areas, kind of on-off weather, but doesn't look terrible for the week. But you may have some issues around these troughs that kind of eject up to the northeast. So anyway, let's see here. Okay, so I think I'm probably going to wrap it up right now. To those of you that have watched, thank you very much. Let me come back to me here. So trying out the YouTube thing, don't know how well it worked or not. If you're watching and you experienced any issues, leave me a message in the comments on the YouTube page or on Facebook. I'm trying this out because it's a little bit better than the Facebook Live stuff. I can see things happening a little bit better, but I think it has some issues with the streaming. So if you weren't able to hear me, or if things were stuttering, or any general problems or concerns you had, let me know. If it's something I can fix, I'd prefer to stick to YouTube as a streaming platform over Facebook. But if it's something that's just a showstopper, then I'll have to cross that when I get there. So again, sum it all up. Travel issues, really we're concerned in Colorado with that Monday into Tuesday time frame. That's kind of your biggest shot right there. It doesn't look like the snow is going to be super terrible, but it should be enough to be impactful. So what that means, we don't know yet, but if you have travel plans, you're flying out Monday night or through the day Tuesday, you want to keep an eye on the forecast, and obviously you want to keep an eye on your flight status and see what happens. Doesn't look like this is a storm that's going to shut down the whole airport and city and stuff, but it can definitely cause some delays. If you're on the roads, your biggest impacts are going to be kind of the northeastern Colorado and right up against the Front Range Mountains and foothills. That's where you're looking at. If you're later in the week, if you're traveling in around Thanksgiving, a lot of your bigger impacts right now look like they're outside of Colorado or the southwestern mountains. Keep an eye on the northeast. One of these storms may go through there and cause some impacts later in the week next week. And we have another storm system moving through next Friday and Saturday-ish through Colorado. Right now, with the modeling data. It's so far out, it doesn't look like an impact, but what I see when I look at that model is, okay, something is happening. We just need to keep an eye on it. And as we get closer to that day, we'll have a better idea of what that looks like. So anyway, thank you again for joining me. Probably going to be doing more of these live streams here and there as the weather warrants it. But if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. You can always hit me up on Facebook. If you've got specific travel destinations, um, in specific time frames you want to know about, feel free to reach out to me as well. I'll be, forecasting pretty hard for the next week for a lot of folks. So if you have any questions, let me know, and definitely stay tuned. And also, I like constructive criticism. Always open things I can do, things to make these streams better, or my website better, or Facebook better. So reach out to me with those as well. I appreciate everyone tuning in, and have a good rest of your day and an excellent weekend.